if you don't show up, or if you're not brand consistent, or if you have nothing at all, you're going to lose authority. And authority equals trust equals sales. And probably one of the best things you can do is write a book to be that authority. And
Lunch with Noam.
Hey everyone, this is Norm Farrar, aka the Beard Guy here, and welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the e-commerce and Amazon FBA podcast. Today we're going to be discussing how a college dropout turned multi-million-dollar business owner in just 18 months. And we're also going to be talking about why should entrepreneurs and sellers write a book, how do you choose a subject, and how do you use books to grow your business? Well, welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the e-commerce and Amazon FBA podcast. All right, today we're going to be discussing how a broke college dropout turned multi-million-dollar business owner in just 18 months. Our guest is an investor. Let's try this again. Our guest is an investor and the CEO of selfpublishing.com, a Forbes 30 Under 30 honoree, and the author of 7 best-selling books. He's also been the host of a 7-Figure Principles podcast and the Self-Publishing School podcast. Through his books, podcasts, YouTube channels, and selfpublishing.com, he helped thousands of people write a book that grew their business and their income. Today, it's a first-time guest, and we're talking to Chandler Bolt. Okay, so let's go to a sponsor. I guess that's me, Kels. Am I the sponsor? I guess I am. All right. Here we go. Okay, this is a live read. It's not a recorded sponsor shout out. Let's do this for Seller Basics. Hey, Amazon sellers ever faced with account suspensions, ASIN hiccups, or IP headaches? Introducing Seller Basics, your Amazon accounts guardian, which is $99 per month, or put in code NORM, $89 a month. Seller Basics offers a dedicated team to shield your business from these challenges. Plus, this membership offers free legal consultations from seasoned e-commerce attorneys. And guess what? There's no long-term contracts, and you can cancel in just a month's notice. You can view Seller Basics as your Amazon account's health plan, and you can find them at sellerbasics.com. Now for the disclaimers. Seller Basics is not an insurer or law firm. Consultations come from independent firms. Results may vary. Membership is needed before events leading to claims and terms apply. Now we sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee, and let's invite Chandler to the episode. Hello, sir.
What's going on, Norm? How we doing?
We're doing okay so far. As long as his internet is steady today, we're going to be good.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, where are you out of?
I'm based out of Austin, Texas.
Oh God, who isn't? Yeah, everybody's in Austin. Kevin, I was just talking about Kevin. Everybody's in Austin. The Driven mastermind was just there. I know the digital marketing guy, everybody's out of Austin. I got to move to Austin. Right now it's close to snowing. So up here. Okay. I want to know, because this is very close to my heart, about writing a book, self-publishing. So selfpublishing.com, there you go. But why is it so important? Why should sellers or Amazon sellers, e-commerce sellers, why should they even bother with the time and money to write a book?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple reasons. One is, you already understand the Amazon platform. So why not apply that understanding to a different part of Amazon that, oh, by the way, is way less competitive than the seller marketplace and the seller side of things. All the same things apply. But I believe that a book is one of the best things you can do to grow your business. It helps you bring in more leads, more sales, more referrals. This book right here for me has brought in millions of dollars of sales for selfpublishing.com. Right. So it just, people buy the book, read the book, they book a call with my team. They sign up to work with us. And so I think that's more broad, but then big picture, if you can write a book on the topic of your products or the problem that your products solve, then you can really do a good job of linking those together in the Amazon store. You can increase your average cart value. You can increase your close rate. I mean, it's a bunch of applications. Think about some of the most successful e-commerce brands, and it's not widely adopted, but I have seen it done in a crazy successful way. Like Dave Asprey talking about the bulletproof diet as a lead in to bulletproof products and bulletproof coffee and all that stuff, right? JJ Virgin. So it's really popular in kind of, I guess, like the weight loss and supplement world, maybe less so popular for other e-commerce products, but I think it's a really smart move.
I'm a brand guy, but I'm also a content marketing person. I have a press release company and just a content marketing company. So the first thing that pops to mind here, and especially for any e-commerce sellers, they might do this backwards. When people are launching a product on Amazon, what they're doing is they see a whole bunch of micro brands. They don't know who the heck they are. What's the first thing that they do? They're going to go and try to find information about them. So it could be in the form of a book. It could be just going to Google and, typing in the brand's name. But if you don't show up, or if you're not brand consistent, or if you have nothing at all, you're going to lose authority. And authority equals trust equals sales. And probably one of the best things you can do is write a book to be that authority. And then it's instant. I don't know if you agree, but it's instant credibility if you're shown as an author.
Well, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. The root word of authority is author. You can't spell the word authority without the word author. So for a lot of people, they become an authority in the mind of their prospects by first becoming an author, right? And maybe in our world, content world, all that stuff, it feels very normal. It's like, oh, you wrote a book. Okay, yeah, a lot of people that I know have done that. But in the mind of most people, I mean, we know that, New York Times did a study and found that 81% of people want to write a book. We know that less than 1% of people actually do it. So automatically you're part of this 1% club by writing and publishing a book. And so it helps you stand out in the marketplace and with your ideal customers.
Shane Oglow, who is the president of PR Reach, and PR Reach is the name of our press release company. Anyways, he was trying to write a book, and he was having problems. He was writing about content marketing. He was writing about the importance of PR and how it can help out, product launches. He just went through the whole thing: how to write it, what to look for, distribution. And he was having problems, so he reached out to this company, and I think he tried 3 or 4 different companies, but we ended up with this one company, and it was absolutely horrible. We had a horrible experience, lost money. And then we tried another company, and we got the same experience. Like, if you're hiring ghostwriters, or if you're going to hire people to help with the book, what are some things that you got to look for so you don't get screwed?
Yeah, the sad reality is it's a low barrier to entry. So there's a lot of just people who aren't really good at it. I'll say the ghostwriting piece is really, really, really tough. Most people want an incredibly ghostwritten book at just for price for nothing, right?
Exactly.
So, the sad truth is, if you want a great book, sure, AI can help. It's nowhere near the quality of what it needs to be for most people, right? And so if you want a great book, that's probably going to cost you 30, 40, 50,000, maybe even up to 100,000 or more. Like the best ghostwriters cost that. And so most people aren't willing to pay that. So they go cheap, and then they get the book back and they're pissed because it's not very good, right? And I think about, when I read a rough draft of a book that I've written, I often feel like, was I drunk when I wrote this? Like, what happened? This is not good, right? Now, imagine you just paid someone $10, $20, $50,000 to write a book. You're going to probably be even less forgiving than you are with yourself. So it's a really tough model. We've been in the business for about a decade, and there's a reason why we don't currently do it. Now we're working on it, and we're trying to figure out how to crack the code where it's, okay, how can we create happy authors in a way that's scalable and profitable? And I think, those three things, because we're not going to do it if we can't create happy authors. We could grow a lot faster if we were charging 30, 40, 50 grand a customer.
That's not gonna,
right?
Yeah, that's very hard, right?
But you got to, but if you're doing that, which there's plenty of people that will pay that, they'll say, hey, I've got more money than I got time, so I will pay money to save time, right? But if you're doing that, you got to make it a great book. And so I think first and foremost, for most people, ghostwriting isn't the path. You're going to be better off having a process. And, we teach a process. It's called the More Writing Method, and actually writing the book yourself, which is the most unpopular thing that I could say. When I tell entrepreneurs that, they're like, okay, like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm the exception. So let me do. And oftentimes I will talk to them a year or two later, and they'll say, yeah, I hired a ghostwriter. I worked with a ghostwriter. It sucked. Now I'm finally realized that I need to write it. Right. And so that's just the sad reality for most people, is that you got to make sure that you're doing it in a smart way. And you might have to end up writing it, and it doesn't take as long as you think. Like, if you follow a process, you can get a rough draft written a lot faster than you think.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. And do you know Wilfred Lightheart? No, he was an old business partner of mine. He has a digital blacksmith, and he was writing a book, and he took a course, and he just broke down the process very quickly with me, but it took him a short period of time to write the book, and it was well written. He did it himself. And what he ended up doing is just getting the outline properly. Like, I'm doing it right now for a fictional book. And I just talked about it last podcast about my, like, everything. And I want this 100% done by AI, 100%. And we had, who did we have on last, on Monday or Wednesday, Kels? I was talking to this.
The guests all blend together. The guest was Jonathan Gillum.
Oh, Jonathan. Yeah. So, I was talking to him about this, and he was saying, yeah, you got to be very careful with AI, especially if it's nonfiction, because he gave a great example. You'll love this. He said, he saw a lawsuit that ended up happening because some guy wrote a book about mushrooms. And what the book said was you should go out, explore, find the different mushrooms, and then eat them. Eat them. Mushrooms are very poisonous. So there was a major issue because of what AI said and put together. So my point is, if you're just slapping something into AI, don't expect that you're going to get a great novel. It's not going to happen. Don't expect to do something nonfiction. You have to really read it. But John Benson showed me a way that helps out. And this is why I started doing this. I wanted to put down everything I needed. So you've got the settings, the character brief, everything that you need. And then I refer AI to it. And then what I'll do, once the chapter is completed, once I'm satisfied with it, I'll put it back and get it to be reviewed by an editor. And then I'll make those changes. And then I'll get AI to act as a senior editor. And I get some really great results from it. Now, I am human inputting, into the information, but I set out 100% trying to do this by doing it by AI. But I can tell you, Chandler, it's taking me more time to do it this way than if I would have just written the bloody book, But again, it was for a purpose. I'm trying to take what I normally would bring out and make it better, and then take that and make it better, more twists, more turns. So anyways, I hope Kelsey told you that I go on some rants sometimes, different rabbit holes. And so sorry about that.
No, you're good. I mean, I think a lot of people maybe have that experience, and I'm not trying to throw the baby out with the bathwater here. I mean, I think AI can be really good for idea generation, for title generation, to title your book. Mm-hmm. I think it can be really helpful for outlining. The better the outline, the better the book. And so it can be really helpful with that. And even some rough draft, first draft material. Now, less so with fiction. You've got to prompt it really well. And it, it might lose track of kind of the storyline, especially if there's word caps, right? So if you can only, if it's only going to spit out 10,000 words at a time or something, you have to regenerate and keep regenerating, then that's where it can really lose track and not remember and tie together characters and all that stuff in a way that, as humans, we would either do or our editors would catch. So there's certain, to your point, there's certainly some elements where you can implement it and where it can help in the creative process, but we haven't at least found a way to say, all right, hey, we can go end to end with it so far and create something that's at the quality standards that we would approve.
Yeah, I like, and one of the reasons for having you on today is about self-publishing, doing it yourself, understanding how to put together, how to do it. What's the process? It's like Amazon. You can go and throw a product listing on Amazon, but it's such a big beast, unless you know the system or the ways to get noticed, it won't happen. And that's the same thing here. So we're going to get into some of that process in a second, but also here's another question. We've got our brands out there, and this question's probably going to sound pretty simple, but how do you know the topic? How do you know what to write about?
Yeah, I would ask a few questions. I would say, what's the questions that, I would say, what are the broken record conversations that you're having with customers or prospects? That's a really great place to start. You're probably tired of talking about it. The best way to stop talking about it is to write a book on it and then point to that book, right? And then that book answers all the questions, all the objections, all that stuff. So then it either helps you close more deals or it prevents customer support or refunds or stuff like that. Or, I use my book to train up all of our new employees. I use it. My book is onboarding for all of our new customers, all that stuff. So it can give you a lot of leverage in all those different pieces of the business, but start with, hey, what are those broken record conversations that we keep having? What are the pain points that cause people to do business with you? And could you write an authoritative piece of content on that pain point? And then your product is part of the solution, right? And so now you're educating and indoctrinating the product with the pain or the problem that they're facing. And so that's kind of how I think about it. There's a lot of other ways that you can think through it, but that's kind of how I would think about it at the start.
All right. Okay. Now, this is the big question, I think, for everybody out there. And that's about writing not an okay book, not a good book, but a great book. And so how do you do that? And how do you do that in a short period of time?
Yeah,
everybody's busy, right?
Yeah, it's $1 million question. I think most people would say, hey, either I don't have time to write a book or the timing's not right. And most people think that it takes years. It can get done a lot faster than you think. We have a process that we teach. It's called the more writing method. So there's really there's 8 steps to take to get your book done and to go kind of from blank page to published. And I know people probably can't see this, but this is, if you go to my book listing on Amazon, the book's called Published. You'll see this graph, right? It's also on page 17. There's these 8 steps or 8 milestones is what we call them. The first 4 is what we call the more writing method. So the more writing method, it stands for mind map, outline, rough draft, editing, right? And so that really sets the stage. Mind map, it's a brain dump around all the ideas for the topic of your book. I would recommend people, if you're seriously considering this book, take 15 minutes as soon as you're done listening to this or watching this and just mind map everything you can think of on the topic, right? You'll be amazed at how much you can say on that thing, right? Then you use that mind map to create an outline. The better the outline, the faster the book in terms of writing it, and the better the book, right? And then you use that outline to write the rough draft 1 chapter at a time, and then obviously move into the editing. But that's the process that we teach and is really helpful for folks. And we've got some people who will buckle up and say, hey, I'm going to write a book, the draft in a weekend or in a week. Or we've got some people who will say, hey, I'm going to write 1,000 words a day for 30 days straight. And at the end of that, I'll have, 30,000 plus words written, which is most of the length of a book. So it can happen a lot faster than you think. And that's kind of the process that we teach and help people through.
Okay. Can you go through, and of course, we don't have a 3-hour podcast, but could you just go through and name the steps again?
Yeah, absolutely. So the more writing method is mind map. So it's an acronym: mind map, outline, rough draft, editing. Right? Those are the first 4 steps and the most important steps. Because for most people, if you're listening to this or watching this and you don't have your rough draft done, that's the most important place to start. Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's where
until
it's going
you
to
get
take some
there.
time, right?
Yeah. It certainly, that's the longest part of the process for most people.
Mm-hmm.
And so it certainly can take some time. But yeah, that's that is once you get past that, once you start to, get that rough draft done, you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. You start to believe that this is possible. So that's what we do especially when we work with folks, is we just try to keep them laser focused on that rough draft finish line as the most important first step.
I use an app called MindNode for mind mapping. It's great. It's a great program. It costs a couple of dollars. There's free ones out there, but some other apps that I use for mind mapping, because it's so important. But you can go out there and you can use Answer the Public, and that'll give you some ideas. But probably the best by far, and it can tie into AI. They have just built this into their system, but it's Phrase, FRASE.io. And it's similar to Answer the Public, but when you type in your keyword, your topic, it'll go out, it'll search the internet, and then it'll bring back the number one, like blog articles and subjects that you can talk about. And it does it exactly like Answer the Public. It mind maps it for you, and then you can take the content, you could summarize it. And if you're using it for a listing, okay, or for blog articles, that's one thing. You can give it to a writer. But if it's for you, you can see, the different topics that people are asking questions about. And you can also, what is it, Moz or SEMrush? You can go in and see what questions people are talking about with that topic. So these are a couple of things that we use, and we found it very helpful. And I love Phrase because of that mind mapping style that it has. And by the way, you could go in there and you can ask Phrase. Now they have this new component that you could just say, you could use a prompt. And I forget the prompt. They have a newsletter. It just came out the other day. I was looking at it, and a prompt to chapter, summarize, bullets, and it could give you just to jog your memory. Here's a few ideas that you could talk about. Here's the talking points, and you can build off of that. There's so much out there now, and it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen in the next year. Not 10 years, in the next year. But okay, we're at the bottom of the hour. And all right, I guess I'm doing another live read. And coincidentally, Chandler, it's about publishing. All right, everybody. Okay, my buddy, Colin Campbell, has published a book through Forbes. It's called Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat. It hit 15 number one placements in Amazon when the book was published. Colin, I've known him for 20, 30 years, and this guy is a true serial entrepreneur. And he's had some failures, but he's had mostly successes, and he's learned from every failure, which is outlined in the book. But through this, he has a formula, and he breaks it down from start, scale, exit, repeat. There's 4 different modules within each one of those categories. And then there's subcategories. It's almost like a business reference guide, but he also couples that with 200 interviews. So check it out. It's on Amazon. You can check it out. Let's see, soft and hardcover, Kindle, and it's also available on Audible. All right. That is Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat. Okay. Is there anything I from the last question I asked before I get to the next one about writing that great book, and the important part here is how do you take that entrepreneur who's got 1,000 things going on in his life and get them to sit down and figure this out, knowing that they could become the authority in whatever they're doing.
I think I would. I think we mostly covered. I mean, the more writing method, I would stick to that. And the big thing for folks, my big encouragement would be just start. You can't get the draft done if you don't start it. And so start with that mind map as soon as you're done listening to this or watching this, and then that'll really help kind of grease the wheels of the process.
I think we're probably going to take people out of their comfort zone when they're doing this, especially the first time. What do you do? You're just sitting there. It's like, again, launching something on Amazon for the first time. It's just kind of a blank stare, deer with a deer in the headlights. So when you get that done, then the next process, which is going to be completely new to 99% of the people out there, and that's how do you launch a book?
That's a great question. I look at, there's a bunch of ways to do it. I think it all comes down to what I call the launch triangle. There's kind of three core pieces of a good launch. There's a launch team, there's getting reviews, and thirdly, there's promotions, right? And so the first two are pretty straightforward. You can do it no matter how you launch. And then the third piece is kind of this accordion that, depending on your time, money, and resources, you can do a lot more or a lot less. Right. And so if you do nothing else, just create a launch team. And for those who aren't familiar with a launch team, it's a small group of people who support you or the topic of your book. So this could be 15 people, 50 people, maybe even 100 or more. And what they're going to do is leave a review on day one, right? Read the book ahead of time, leave a review on day one, kind of like in the physical product world, right? You got to get product reviews. So you guys are very familiar with this. It's kind of the start. I mean, if you don't have reviews, you can't show up in search, right? And there's no social proof, so people aren't going to buy your product. So it's very similar with your book, and the launch team can help get reviews. And then there's promotions, which, I could spend a whole nother podcast on, and so there's a lot of things that you can do there. There's podcast tours, there's ads, there's a bunch of stuff like that. But what I like to think about is, hey, yes, launch week is important, but what's more important is launch year. And how do you continue to promote this book so that it becomes a pillar and a big part of your business and not just a flash in the pan?
Yeah, I love, and I've seen this a lot, people that are experienced and know what they're doing, but they take the concept of the book and they apply it to everything that they're doing. So it becomes part of them, like their brand. When they're talking, they talk about the 4 pillars of, or, whatever that would be. So it's not only writing the book, but it's writing what you believe in. And also, I don't know if you agree with me on this, but it's that USP for the book. Like I said, those 4 pillars. Can you come up with something that's going to, you just talked about the 8 steps and, the first 4 steps and the acronym. And when you refer to that, it becomes part of your talk, right? Well, people that are publishing a book would probably want to do the same, because if it's just the same mumbo jumbo about making jam, is there a unique way of making jam? Is there a process or something that people could stick in somebody's mind? And by the way, if anybody has questions on here, I guarantee that 90+% of the audience that's listening right now has thought about writing a book, does not know how to write a book, but wants to write a book. Put your questions in. Chandler's here. He's the expert. And, now's the time to do it. So we got a bunch of people listening, especially a lot of our loyal listeners. I can see, throw in a question or two for Chandler. I'm sure you're not going to trip him up. All right. Now going back to the launch. So we've launched a book. We've got the reviews. We try to do this over a period of a year. So you build your plan for a period growing over a year. And then how do you take that and grow it? So you've got it launched, you've got the reviews, you go onto podcasts. Are there anything else that you can do to grow that book?
Yeah. So there's Amazon ads, obviously, right? Which if you're selling physical products, you're probably doing some sort of that on the product side of things, but you can do it on the book side of things as well. But then I think more importantly than that, for most people here on this interview, is integrate it with your business. Like, how do you I would go back to that kind of the three. I always look at the three buckets, which is how do we use the book to get more leads, sales, and referrals. So leads, these are people who hear about your business because of your book, right? Sales, these are people who maybe already know about you or already going through some sort of sales process or sales funnel. And you can now boost your conversion as by integrating your book, right? So just one small example that comes to mind is if you've got a picture of your book and your A+ content on your Amazon listing with your product. Well, now this is authoritative to that product, right? And so you can boost the conversion rate of that individual Amazon page. I'm just giving that specific example. We use it in a bunch of different other ways for my business specifically. But then thirdly, how do you use the book to get more referrals, right? And so this is, a lot of people say a book is the new business card. I think a book is better than a business card. Because if you give someone a business card, they're probably throwing it away within 24 hours. Let's just be real. Right? But if you give them a book, if their parents raised them anything like my parents did, they keep that book. It feels wasteful to throw it away, right? And so they keep that book, and every time they see that book, they think of you, right? So what we recommend people do is give a copy or two to prospects and customers. Now, this especially works if your average order value is a lot higher, right? So you got to have the economics in your business for this to make sense. But if you do that, you say, hey, here's a book for you, Norm, and here's a book for somebody who's working on a book, would be my example, right? Well, then next time you see someone or hear someone who's like, hey, I'm thinking about doing a book, say, hey, here, just take this one, right? And so now it makes you look good because you're adding value, not saying you should work with Chandler and selfpublishing.com. Right? You're just saying, hey, here's a book that might be helpful. And so we have that helps the referral engine for us in our business. I went to go speak at a conference the other day, and a guy was in the audience. He said, one of my coaching clients recommended your book. I'm listening to it on Audible right now. And I had no idea. And I showed up to this conference, you're here, and we got a booth and all that stuff. He signed up to work with us. Right. So just a great example of a book as a referral engine that's a lot more successful than just saying, hey, you should do business with so-and-so.
Yeah. You know what? I'm old. I hide my own Easter eggs. I forgot to talk about the giveaway. So, all right. Kelsey just reminded me. All right. One thing I forgot, very important for this podcast, is the Wheel of Kelsey. So if you're a first-time listener, we have a prize that we give away at the top of the hour. If you're interested in a prize, it's hashtag Wheel of Kelsey. You could probably see Tony's already jumped on it. You could tag two people and you can get a second entry as well. Today, we have a great giveaway, and guess what? It's about this topic. Chandler, what's the giveaway today?
Yeah, so we're giving away a publishing consultation with one of the publishing strategists on my team. So we'll spend 45 minutes to an hour with you. We'll talk about your book, your goals for your book. We'll start to create a plan on how you can implement that. And then if it makes sense to work with us, we can talk about that too. But really, it's about helping you get clarity and next steps on your book. So these are all folks that have helped, in most cases, hundreds at least, and in most cases, thousands of people take the next step with their book. I mean, we do this all day, every day. And so it's going to be really, really valuable if you're in that stage of saying, hey, I'm thinking about this book, or I'm trying to figure out what I would even write about, or, what the next steps would be. We can help you get a lot of clarity on that.
That really is priceless, because throughout this podcast, we were just talking about, trying to get the ideas. How do you do it? How do you launch? And just by having this consultation, it really is priceless, because now you're on your way and you can make that decision. Okay. So now that I got my old man thing out of, oh my gosh, I'm so old. I gotta have some. I hope that Elon Musk comes up with something that makes a 60-plus-year-old guy come back as a 91 or a 91, a 20-year-old memory. You know, it's supplements don't do it. I'm telling you right now. Okay, what's your parting advice for people who want to write a book?
Yeah. My parting advice would be get started, right? A lot of people think about it. A lot of people dream about it. One of my favorite quotes is that a dream without a plan is a wish. Right. And so a lot of people just wish about their book. And then they say maybe next year, they say maybe someday, and then maybe next year becomes maybe never. Right. Or some of you watching this or listening to this, you said that last year. All right. Well, guess what? It's this year. It's next year. Right. And so you got to get started. There's never going to be a perfect time. There's never going to be a convenient time. But if you take the time, you will build this asset that creates an impact that brings in more income and more business for you forever. Right? It's a long-term asset for a short-term sacrifice. And so you got to get started. You got to take that first step. And then when you do, and when you're on the other side of this, I think you'll see that it's been one of the, that it'll be one of the best things that you've ever done in your life and in your business. I really feel that way for my books personally.
I can guarantee that if you write a book, a well-written book, and you become the authority, you will jumpstart those. Your sales are going to jump. And I don't know if it's 10%, 20%, 30%, but I'm guaranteeing that if you're not the authority, you're losing sales. And the second that you become the authority, and probably the biggest thing that you could do is be an author. So now this reminds me, you were talking about monetizing and how you grew your business. How did you do it? Like, what did you specifically do for selfpublish.com?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a lot of hard work and getting really, really good at marketing. And so, I mean, that's probably, one thing that we're really great at, whether it's for the business or for the book. And so early on, it was using the book and integrating it with the business. I mean, just like we teach, kind of eating our own dog food. And then even to this day, I mean, last year we did about, what was it? About 11, somewhere between 11 to 12 million in revenue. And a lot of that was helped through the book. I mean, I'll go speak at events, or our speaking team will go speak at events, and we'll pass out books. We'll give them away for free. And then we'll leave that event with $50,000, $100,000 or more in customers. Right. And so it's just integrating the book is a big part of what we do. And then getting really good at marketing.
All right. Okay, Kels, I think we have a couple of questions. Oh, before we get to the questions, tell me more. I just see Tom Chandler Bolt, The 7-Figure Principle Show. Another book?
What's that?
Is that another book that Tom's referring to?
No, I think what's happening is you're seeing our YouTube viewer AMZ Elite tag Chandler Bolt's YouTube channel.
Oh,
So
okay. I
Bolt,
thought
the
that he's
7-Figure
talking
Principle
about
Show.
another book. All right. So tell us a little bit more about Self-Publish and what it's all about.
Yeah. So selfpublishing.com, we exist to help people write and publish better books that sell more copies and grow their business. And so we're an online coaching and service company. We coach people through the process, and then we do a lot of the final mile of publishing for them. So cover design, formatting, ISBN, upload, marketing. There's a bunch of that stuff that we really help with and kind of come alongside them with that. And so that's, but they keep all the rights and royalties, right? So we put the power back in the hands of authors. It's an entrepreneurial form of publishing. It's for people who want to bet on themselves and reap the rewards. And so that's what we do. And that's how we help people.
Do you also guide them into how to print soft and hardcover books?
Yes, sir.
I've seen some really crappy soft and hardcover books come
Right.
out lately.
Yeah.
But that's really important as well. So just imagine you could be the authority. You ever bought a book, or you ever bought a product and it came to your door and it wasn't what you were expecting, and all of a sudden you have buyer's remorse. That's the same thing. If I order a book from Amazon and it comes in a softer hardcover and it's crap, I don't care about the content. The first impression I have is this is crap, and it doesn't say much about the author when that happens. So I think you have to take a look at that. Kindle, it's a little harder to do. You're judging the writing, but you're getting a tangible product. It's a physical product, and it's important that you get those first impressions. Anyway, let's go to the questions now, Kels.
Alrighty, so
You're not my wife.
We have a question from Rad here. He's asking, how do you do books with illustrations? What's your process with that?
Yeah, so we help with that, and we do the formatting. And all that we ask is that the author provides the illustrations, if that's what you're asking. What I would recommend is kind of anytime there's illustration, obviously a children's book, very, very heavily illustrated, and that's a main focal point. And we have illustrators, and we've got a whole children's book side of the company. We've got a fiction side of the company, but primarily our bread and butter is nonfiction business books. And so reverse engineer and think through, hey, what purpose is this illustration serving? And how, and make sure that it's okay. How do I design something that helps the reader get more out of the book and that makes this framework catchy and memorable and all that stuff? So that's where I would kind of reverse engineer and design the purpose of the illustration and why is it in there, and then that'll make sure that it serves the reader in the book.
So along those lines, I'm not even sure if you can do this, but is there a value add that you put at the end of the book where people can download charts or download something?
Yeah, exactly. That's really helpful, because depending on the format, it might not look good in that format, right? And we want to turn readers into subscribers, right? So I will sprinkle throughout. I'll say, hey, well, I've got this. There's a chapter on mind mapping. Download our mind map template at the end of that. Right? There's a chapter on outlining. And say, hey, we can create a 25-page custom Google Doc that'll help in a rough draft of an outline for you. Go here, right? And so just all kinds of things like that to help turn readers into subscribers and then ultimately customers, while also adding more value and helping the book be more valuable.
Yeah, my buddy came up with a really cool format where it was the written word, and then he coupled that with QR codes within the chapter, which went up to an online game. And you, at the end of the day, created your own ending for the book, but it was through chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and if when it would do, or if then it would come up with something else, but it would all be related to chapter 2, and you're building up and building up and building up until the end. It was such a unique way of creating a book and just having the person not only participate by reading, but actually creating your own ending. Really wild.
That's cool. It's a fun concept.
All right. And that last question, I think.
All right. From Cool Hand 99, I'm definitely interested in writing a book in the sustainable lifestyle space. Do you recommend having the book physically published, digital download, audio, or all of the above?
Yeah, I would say all of the above, but you don't have to do all of them at once, right? What most people do is they'll do the ebook first, simple, straightforward. Then they'll do the physical book second, and they'll do the audiobook third. That's kind of in order of difficulty. And the benefit of doing it that way is you also get multiple bites of the apple. So you get multiple launches. So you launch the ebook, then you launch the print book, then you launch the audiobook, and then just make sure that, kind of like we've talked about today, make sure that it's integrated in with your business so that it creates maximum value for the business itself.
All right. Very good. Okay. In a couple of minutes, we're going to be heading over to the wheel. So if you're listening, I just noticed a bunch of new listeners that just jumped on. We have something called the Wheel of Kelsey. We give away a prize. Today's prize is awesome. It's a consultation on how to write a book, how to format it, whatever you want. You'll have it with Chandler's team. So it's a 45-minute consult, and all you need to do to enter is hashtag Wheel of Kelsey, tag 2 people, and you'll get a second entry. All right. Let's see. Is there anything else that I haven't talked to you about today, Chandler, that you'd like to add?
I don't think so. It's been great, Norm. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, now don't go away too quick, okay? And when I do remove you, stay in the back room. I got a question for you. Here's Tony. Yeah, he just asked about Perplexity. Yes, and yes. I have definitely, and I love Perplexity. What about you, Chandler? Have you tried it?
I have not.
Oh my God.
I haven't done that one specifically. No.
No. Perplexity takes the place of Google.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I've just pulled it up. I've been on this site before. I don't actively use it. It looks, interesting. I use, for some reason,
What the hell happened there?
I think if you do this, like a peace sign or something, it's just dumb reactions. Like if you do this number, sometimes it'll do a thumbs up. I don't know. It's totally random. Apparently,
I just saw balloons.
But it was.
I know I wasn't eating any of those mushrooms.
Yeah. No, I use Gemini a lot of times for this type of stuff, but that's interesting.
Oh, okay. All right. So, Kels, let's go to a sponsor, and then we'll come back with Chandler and we'll get that prize. Facing cash flow challenges with your e-commerce business? Discover Viably, your ultimate financial ally. From real-time sales data integrations to immediate funding access, Viably is here to support you. Plan your growth with their free tool for online sellers and engage with specialists whenever you need. Extend your cash flow with Viably. All right, let's go to the wheel.
It's time for the Wheel of Elsie.
Okay, let's see who wins today.
All right, I'll shuffle these up, give it a spin, and let's see who today's winner is. If you are the winner, please email me, kate@lunchwithnorm.com. And
there you go. Cool hand. Luke, you got it.
So congratulations. Please email me, kate@lunchwithnorm.com for your prize.
So that was nice. Luke is the guy that asked the question. I mean, he's very interested in writing a book. So that's perfect. Awesome, Luke. Okay, Chandler, we're going to remove you, and I'll be back to talk to you in about a minute. But it was really great having you on. It's the first time we've talked about publishing. Want more great information? Don't forget to subscribe by clicking here. Also, if you want to check out our latest podcasts, click over here.
Lunch with Norm.